What's up, Internet? Welcome back to Gamespot. I am Emma Fife, and today I am delighted, enthused, just tickled to be joined by Sassy Chap Games' very own Ray Chase, Max Middleman, and Robbie Damon to talk about date everything. Gentlemen, how does it feel to, have your game out in the world?
Terrifying. What are we talking about here?
It really is surreal. We've been working on this for 7 years. I found out that my initial ask to our first programmer, Adriel, was June 17th, 2018.
Wow.
To the day?
To the day.
Unbelievable.
June 17th. Total coincidence about our release date. Found it out later, but it's been a long time coming.
It has, yeah. Well, and I was very fortunate that I was able to get an advanced copy of this game, so I have been playing it, and I want to start by talking about the plot hook, shall we say, of the game, because I thought it was very fun and also very topical, because you're basically a human being who's being replaced by AI. Was any of that sort of inspired by the real world?
You know, it's funny, we sort of like Nostradamus this thing when we thought, let's play someone who's homestuck, and then we were developing that in the pre-pandemic days.
We knew it had to take place in a house, because date everything in the outside world would be too bad. So we're in the house, yeah.
Yeah. And then the AI thing, I don't think people were quite being replaced by AI yet, so I hope we need to write a very happy ending so that whatever happens comes true. Do it.
We also, anything that might be topical or coincidental or be any, say, Baldur's Gate 3 references in our game, were all total coincidences because we recorded this, and so the writing had to be done in March of last year.
Right.
Was when we first started recording that. So yeah, anything that was part of the main plot or the characters was decided long ago. It's been a long road from making all those assets, fixing all the bugs, and putting it to where we are now at release.
Yeah, well, and speaking of the writing, I had texted Robbie yesterday when I was playing, and the writing in this game is just so funny. So can you tell me about the writing process, how you sort of came to the various storylines, because there's so much to do in this game.
It started in my garage. It started before that with the three of us deciding that we wanted to make something.
Right.
And we landed on a video game. And after that idea was spawned, the doing of it is a whole other animal. So it started with a really small team when we were developing the vertical slice. It was the three of us, a handful of writers, a programmer, and some people who had worked in the industry before. And then when we realized that someone actually signed a check to make a game of this scope, that it was going to take more than just that size team. So I think we landed on somewhere around 25-ish writers that all had individual, unique perspectives because we have such a huge pantheon of characters. And from there, it just sort of refined.
I think in terms of humor, the only way that you can have unless you have the crazy literary style writing of a Disco Elysium, where you can keep a player hooked because you're my mind is being blown every second by this incredible, this wild literature. We knew that our game had to be much more approachable, much more fun, and buoyant in a way to hook you in. And I think we successfully did that by having a lot of characters' first interactions, or a lot of the pathing, or a lot of the critical path, have this sense of fun to it, to keep you playing. But we do have lots of sensitive characters, lots of sensitive topics. We hope you cry at certain points. So this gave us a way to tell a diverse amount of stories that aren't just funny, but at least welcome you in at first.
Certainly, and I mean, Max, when you first meet you, you come right on in rapping.
Yeah, it's abrasive. Yeah, it's definitely abrasive. I was saying the other day that I enjoy.
Who do you play in Data?
I'm sorry, I play Jean-Luc Bissois. The toilet.
The toilet.
Yeah.
The toilet.
Yeah.
Everybody beelines for the toilet.
Yes.
And I just had so much fun with him, and credit to the writers and these guys for realizing that would be something that I would enjoy so much. But yeah, I had to. It was very quickly recorded too, and so I had very little time to look at the raps. I didn't really know a French accent, and so I figured it out.
It felt so good, man. You have such a superpower of beatboxing.
Yes.
You already have a sense of rhythm, a sense of singing. You are a singer. You do
A
accents.
couple people have asked me if that's somebody else beatboxing, and it's me. It's
Yeah.
me.
Always Max. Yeah.
But from a writing standpoint too, you know, you ever heard the legend of like, not that I'm comparing by any means, but it is just of the Pixar like napkin, right? Where it's like they
Sure.
put all the original ideas on that.
Yep.
It's sometimes looking at where we started and where we evolved with this game feels like that. Because we knew we wanted to make something serious, but like the three of us together as friends and creating this company and creating the idea that this game came from was rooted in comedy with heart. That's all we ever wanted to do, was to do something that was funny and fun, but then was also real. And that's where the best kind of comedy comes from, and that's where the best kind of storytelling comes from. And yeah, the whole writing process, you know, Ray as lead writer sort of took our team and made sure everybody's voices was heard, and then in the end, it really feels like it all lives in the same universe, which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you really touch on what is standing out to me in playing through this game is that, yes, I meet, say, Jean-Loup, and Jean-Loup is
Thank you for saying it last
Yeah,
time.
exactly. I meet Jean-Loup, and he is a talented rapper. I genuinely thought for a second when I first met Jean-Loup, I was like, am I gonna have to like make choices to freestyle rap? Like I was truly, yeah. I also had a lot of fun with Kurt and Rod, and they were like, you know, throwing shade. It was so good. But again, it's like you meet these characters, and yes, they're often introduced in these very funny, kind of punny situations. However, as you continue to follow those storylines, they really do have a lot of heart to them. And ultimately, it is about building all kinds of different relationships with the different kinds of objects in your house, because you have in there this, it's like the Persona star.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's similar. Yeah.
And so it's like as you build relationships with different members of your household, shall we say, your traits go up.
Yeah.
And that opens up new dialogue options. And so I remember I was talking to like the kitchen cabinets.
Fabrizio.
Fabrizio. He was very Italian and fun. And there was like a dialogue option that I couldn't unlock because I wasn't smart enough.
Yes. But none of those, it was really important when designing this with how it's a sandbox.
Yes.
You can go in any order.
Yes.
And it would be so frustrating if you're like, oh no, I can't get a love ending with Fabrizio because I don't have enough points. So
Yeah.
I've made super, super sure that all the specs points are equally the same power.
Yes.
There's not like one that's more important than the other, and that you can get all of the endings without using them.
Yeah.
They're always there for getting extra collectibles, getting extra fun endings, getting alternate endings,
Yeah.
but not locking you out of something.
Yeah, we also realized too that a lot of people would play the game in a certain way early, which is what most people we're seeing right now who are just playing the demo are doing. Because they only get a couple of charges, and you just are walking around meeting. And there is this fun about like finding out who these characters were. So we had to be like, every character has to have a small intro scene that says, am I gonna come back to Jean-Loup, or do I not like him out of the gate? Am I gonna go back to the shower? Not just seeing the character design, but like, do you like the story or their personality that they're offering? Much like your first moment meeting a person, where you go, oh, is this someone I want to pursue or not?
Yeah.
I think the name of our game is Date Everything, but it's not mandatory. If you want to, if you're like, ugh, I hated the cat boy, then you don't ever have to talk to him again.
Yeah.
In fact, better than that, you can pretty much tell him to kiss off and get a hate ending with them. That's what's really been fun watching people play the demo is like, are they gonna get hooked in or are they not? And the lovable part is it's across the board.
Yeah.
Some people love the Catboy.
Yeah, and I think too that playing through it, it does have a lot more variety to it than your standard dating sim, because as you say, you are in this sandbox, and based on the order that you play things in, you will meet characters who will talk about other characters. Sometimes you will see characters show up and you have no idea who they are. For example, I kind of made a beeline for the breaker box. I don't know why.
You meet a lot of people there, yeah.
That just like, brought me to the breaker box. And basically, I went to the door and I spoke to that Dorian, all of the various Dorians in the house, and that Dorian was like, man, this is the worst type we've got in this house.
Seedy part of town.
Yeah, it's the seedy part of town. And I was like, I'm in, let's go. And then I end up in a bar, and then I hadn't even found the shower in my house, and yet there's the shower performing on stage.
Played by Robbie Damon.
Yep.
Yeah. Johnny Splash
Johnny
sings
Splash.
a song.
Yep.
And then a bunch of other characters come in and boo him.
Yep.
Because while I think that Johnny Splash is the best singer in the world, unfortunately some of the other characters don't think that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really, and then so again, because I was realizing, oh, okay, I'm getting the opportunity to meet all of these characters. However, I've decided that I want to level up some of my traits because I'm starting to see options come up where it's like, ooh, if only I'd leveled up that trait, I would have had that option. So then I went, okay, I'm going to pursue a single storyline and see if I can get a trait raised. And it just so happened the breaker box was the way I went.
Nice. Did you can I ask you a question? Can I ask
Yes.
you a question?
Yes.
Did you do that? And did you use all your charges that day, or did you go to bed and go right back? Like, because you could do that. You could do a charge,
Right.
and then go to bed. And you,
Oh,
you
no,
could,
no, no, no,
you could silo.
I always use all my
Can't do that?
charges.
No, that's just an end game only.
What'd you say? Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's only in the end.
Oh, okay. See, now
Secret
I'm wrong.
power that's unlocked at the
Yeah.
very end.
I will say though, and I
Cut
don't-
that. Cut it. Cut it.
I will say that I feel like that's like my favorite part about the game is the replayability.
Yes.
And that you can go back and do things differently.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's almost endless the number of times you can do it and get different endings and get different stories and
Yeah.
that's maybe my favorite part
We
of
have
the game.
characters like Cam, who's the trash can.
Oh, yes, I've
who
talked to
just has
Cam.
a very naturalistic conversation, and it's short and fast when you go through it. But what you might not realize is he has like over 1,500 lines that just branch
Oh, I
out.
believe it.
That each one goes out, and it's like a mundane like 8 or 10 line conversation, but he's one of our widest characters.
The
if you know what I mean.
branches are what is so
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah.
It's not just you choose a different option and then
No.
you get a one line.
Yeah.
It's you can go down a different path.
Exactly.
That's the coolest part.
Yeah, like I recall in my, hanging out at the CD Club, having this back and forth with Volt that went on and on and on because, you show up and initially, Volt, he's very charismatic and you're like, oh, maybe I'm into this. But then you meet Eddie and I was like, and then I like helped Eddie, spoilers, I helped Eddie with some stuff.
Yeah,
And so
he's
then,
fixing stuff.
yeah, and so then it like took a very different path for me than I expected. There were some great sort of like classic dating sim tropes in that one though too, which
Yes.
I clued into. Like,
That fixing thing is one of our harder ones in the game that like you could easily miss out on a better ending that you would have eventually gotten.
Yeah, I really like where that story went for me, I will
awesome.
say. But yeah, I mean, I think that is the thing that feels so organic about it is that, again, like you can talk to stuff in any order you want, and so then you become aware of other things that you might want to awaken within the house so that you can have more context to something that another character has already spoken to you about.
We had a first round of writing where everyone kind of did like first drafts. We put it in the game, started playing it through, and there were some that we liked more than others. And one of the things we realized was there's other characters who come in.
Yeah.
I'm talking with Freddie, and Beverly comes in.
Yes.
I don't know who Beverly is.
Yeah.
And it's just so much more engaging. And we do have we have 3 crowd scenes where a lot of characters come in, and it just makes the house feel more alive. That they're having a life separate from your own. You're
Yeah.
walking into an RPG city, and they're going like, we already have stuff going on.
Yeah.
You're just the human.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I noticed that as well with, I feel like now I'm in a quest to reunite the washer and dryer.
Yes.
Yes, you could be,
Yeah.
or not.
And either way, another thing from feedback, you're never penalized, whatever you
No,
do. You
yeah.
get the same amount of points,
Yep.
and Reggie Rejection talks about it because he's like, hate, baby, you want to do hate.
Yeah.
You get the same amount of points, whether it's friend, love, hate, if you're a total bastard to
Yep.
these guys, if you break up the couples,
Yeah.
you get the same. So it really is that sandbox feeling of like, you can do whatever you want, you're not going to be locked out of anything.
Yeah.
We also wanted there to be weight too, and I think we got there. I was watching a friend play through on my setup, and he got a hate ending with a certain character, and he was like upset by it. Like he was like, but I didn't want that to happen. And I was like, well, why did it happen? It's like, because I told her the truth right out of the gate. And I was like, do you think she was in the mental state to hear that truth in the moment? And he was like, well, no, but I just wanted to be honest. And I was like, yeah, but there's a chance you should have clued into her a little bit more about what she needed. There was a pathway to do this more gently. And like, he maybe wasn't happy with the outcome as a player.
But that was his honest playthrough.
And that's life.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're gonna make mistakes. So not to make a counterpoint, but we wanted to make you not be penalized for the choices and paths that you took, but we also didn't want to mollycoddle the player into a certain way of playing.
Yeah.
So there to be stakes.
Yeah, and Max, I think you bring up a good point about it being very truthful, that as a player, I feel playing it that the options I am presented with are fun because they run the gamut of very real responses. Of you can either be kind of like, because it's a weird situation. You're talking to
yeah.
You're to ask yourself, what do I want the most?
Yes.
In this moment.
Yep.
And it can change from character to character.
Yeah.
The best part about watching streamers is they say there's always that little delay where the character says something, the streamer says something, and then their exact wording is the option that shows up on the screen. I always get a kick out of that.
Yeah,
Ray, really early on in design, we were talking about how to path things through and whether or not we could actually do a 3 relationship status for every character. And it was super important for us to not just use this term I'd never heard before, which I think it was kindness tokens.
Yeah.
Where the only way you're gonna earn someone's affection and love is just through pure kindness.
Yeah.
And we had to be like, well, we're gonna do 100 characters. There's no way that could be the path forward.
Yeah.
It has to be a mix of, assessing their personality and doing what's right, or doing what's maybe right but not right for them. Is what you want the right thing? It's a question of like, what if you meet a character in the game, which there are a few, where romance right off the gate might not be the thing for them. But if that's what you want to pursue and you're only concentrating on your own desires, then maybe you're not going to quite get the experience that you're expecting. And we tried to keep it real in that way. Yeah. Like real dating.
Like real dating.
Like a dating simulator of some kind.
Well, and it does feel, even though obviously like dating sims have been in gaming practically since video games existed. These, very text-based kind of things where you are pursuing a romantic relationship with, it's typically like one of maybe 8 characters.
Sure.
And a lot of them are very plot heavy, and it's like once you've locked yourself into one story path, that's all you get.
Right.
And that is certainly not the case in Date Everything.
Yeah.
It had to live up to the title.
Yeah.
For me, the most important thing was designing this was, when people buy it and play it, did they get to do the 2 words? Did they get to date? Did they get to date everything? And they got their money's worth. So that was always a thing where we used to have a thing where, yes, you would be locked into one. You chose one out of the 100, and it just felt kind of anticlimactic. And I talked with some other narrative designer friends who were like, well, there might be another way to do it.
Yeah.
With an interesting polyamory way with balance that still works.
Yep.
What it ended up being was the critical path. We now have this nice spine of the story that goes through, depending on your love, hates, and friends. But that is another layer to it, that you're not just dating, but you're also furthering the player's story as well.
Yeah, because it does feel like, again, you're centered on this player character who is a remote worker who was working in customer service, who their job has been replaced by AI, but they can't legally be fired. So you're just kind of in job limbo in your home with all these objects, and basically your only sort of like contact with the outside world are random things you get from like your boss, your supervisor, like the CEO, your supervisor, and your friend. And then other than that, it really is about developing relationships with the things within your home, and it feels very much like we're dealing with a player character who is, even though yes, it's within your own home, you're kind of figuring out how to be back in the world again, in a way.
You got it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for knowing our thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you're so welcome. No, I definitely get it, and I do appreciate the sort of breadth of kinds of relationships that you can have within this game that first of all, I feel I'm not going to be punished for having multiple boyfriends and girlfriends, and I think I'm already in a throuple, so
Good. Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Another thing too that we were talking about this was the two words, right? Which is date everything. And the truth of dating in general is that if you get a life partner or in a polyamorous relationship or you get married or whatever that may be for you, most of the time the people that you date, it's not gonna be right.
Yeah.
You're gonna be friends or you're never gonna talk again and it's not gonna work for you or whatever.
Yeah.
And we wanted to distill a lifetime's worth of dating into like a 30 or 40 hour game in which you got to experience that and in any way that you wanted. And I think one of the things we're most proud of right now is that in doing so, we got to be representational for a lot of different types of people and how they experience romance.
Yeah.
So if you are aromantic, you can do a completely platonic playthrough. If you are, if you're just not interested in it at all, you can do a hate playthrough.
Yeah.
And then another thing too, which is, I hope this doesn't give too much away, Ray, and if it is, we can cut it, but you can do a romantic playthrough and for the most part refuse the sexual advances of these characters for, I believe, every single character.
Every single one, yeah.
So if it comes down to it and you say, I love you, but I don't want to make love to you, it's an okay thing. And we want to embrace that for people who are asexual but pro-romantic.
Yeah.
So I feel like while perhaps it's impossible to encompass all forms of relationships, we want to be able to play this game and feel themselves in the cipher of the player character, which is why we don't overpaint a picture of their backstory or anything like that. They just say, what's your name, where are you from, and how do you want to do this?
Yeah,
I don't think I can legally say that. I don't think I can legally say that, actually. Take that back. No, but actually don't cut it.
How would you like to do this?
Yeah, that's it. We've got it.
No, you just put in your pronouns.
Yeah.
Which is great. And yeah, I mean, I think that especially in a world where, the vast majority traditionally dating sims have been for cis het women, it feels so inclusive of everybody to have this game where and I think we're trending this way in video games anyway, where every character is player sexual.
Yes.
Which it's a fantasy. You should be able to date whoever you want.
Exactly, yes.
It can work always, I think. I think in games like I've been in, like Cyberpunk, where the characters have like some of them have specific like proclivities of who they're attracted to. That works too. And if they're player sexual for a game like ours, that's fine too. What I've been enjoying with streamers too is if they lean a certain way and they get like 3 in a row of not their type come up, and they're like, come on, I'm actually like, great!
Yeah.
You don't have to engage with them.
You really are drawing cards out of a deck. You have
really
no
are.
idea. We all know, we're so familiar.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk to Jean-Loup, we know what that's like. But if you have no idea, if it hasn't been spoilered, you don't know if it's a guy, it's a girl, if it's a dishwasher who actually looks like a rectangular dishwasher.
You know if it's a Yeti.
Yeah. But we have looked at our numbers. The Yeti fandom's pretty up here. Yeah. It's doing pretty good.
And let's be real, Robbie has been cooking up some merch. If you guys are interested in some cool stuff, I am excited about it. We're gonna go to our cast party very soon, and I'm very excited to get my hands on a Doug hat. Yes.
Real life Dateviators.
Yes.
May not make your dishwasher sexy.
Yep. So keep your eyes out for real live Dateviators, and you too will soon be able to actually date everything. That's the Date Everything VR experience.